Hello everyone, welcome to the Film Lounge, a place where we talk about the whole movie universe, bring it to you, and ultimately film and chill. So I have my host up here, the enlightened one, my fellow movie connoisseur, Pablo. How you doing, Pablo?
Hey man, I'm doing real good. I hope everyone out there is doing really good too. It's always exciting to come and talk about movies. It's exciting to, share my opinions, my thoughts, my theories, and especially about this one, because today we're talking about WandaVision, and I'm excited about it, my man.
As again he said, we're talking about WandaVision, and we thought that despite only having 2 episodes, we just wanted to give our first impressions, talk about any predictions, and just talk about where the show can go from. And because I don't know where this show's going whatsoever. I don't even know what's going on to begin with.
Yeah, man. This show is something else, man. I've followed Marvel since they started. I've always been a Marvel fan. I grew up with Spider-Man and the X-Men. So I've every single movie I've always loved. There's some that I've they're okay. We all have our favorites, and but we all distinctively know which movies are better. But now, after Endgame, I was very excited to see what was going to be next, and I think they were going to start with when I think the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if I'm not mistaken, before coronavirus happened and it ruined Disney's plans. I think they were going to start with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Do you know that? Do you know if that was true? I think that's true, right?
I'm not too sure, but I know Corona halted a lot of film production.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm excited and even happier that WandaVision was the first show that we got after Endgame, after Spider-Man Far From Home. Actually, that was the last thing. But Endgame is really the end of it. You don't know what's gonna come after that. And WandaVision, Wanda's next chapter is this, and dude, it's incredible, man. It's really solid work. I love it. It's fun.
So let me ask you first before we even get to predictions. When you first saw the trailer, you first heard of anything, posters, and then you saw the trailer, what was your initial response to that? For me, it was this is hella out of nowhere. This is you think you were expecting something like Captain America and the Falcon, but then you're then you see something I don't know, like a Leave It to Beaver kind of sitcom show, and you're like, what the heck? For me, I don't know, I didn't know how to feel, but I was definitely intrigued that it's completely different than what I would have thought of.
Yes. First impression after watching the trailer, I honestly, I get this jittery feeling that only is activated when my inner child feels happy. So as soon as that trailer ended, I got overwhelmed with happiness, because Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, is one of my favorite Marvel characters. She always has been. She's always been super badass, and I always kind of felt bad that she wasn't embodied in the way that that she could have been in the MCU. But now, after watching this and knowing about the House of M, I was excited, just because of how crazy and out of whack the tone was. It was just what is this? Are they making a parody of the movies? Is this a show that is just not gonna matter? Or it looks that way, right? To anyone oh, hey, I know them. It looks like a fun show. I'll watch it, right? But at the end of it, man, I was like, there's something going on here, and I was intrigued like no other, man. This show, it's weird with a purpose, and there's a reason for it. And I knew there was a reason for it, and I was just excited to know what it was about.
Okay.
What about you? What were your what did you feel after you saw this trailer? Were you what was the thing that you wanted to see the most from this show?
See the most? Ooh, well, from a film aspect, I wanted to see what kind of budget these guys were gonna put in. You see the Mandalorian, they're really pushing the bar in terms of what television can be. The skeptical of how TV can actually kind of be on par with actual film, in terms of like I said, like that blockbuster field, I was curious about that because this is the first show Marvel's produced technically, that Disney actually kind of like, this isn't like Netflix's like Luke Cage, or Iron Fist where they say, yeah, it's connected, but not really. Like this is like, no, like this is like, hey, this is our first show, like our first like, TV show. And I was just curious. I didn't know what to really make of it. Like you'll see like all these Easter eggs, you see Wanda and Vision actually wearing their like respected, original costumes, but as like
I can't wait for that episode, man.
And you see it like, in a very like almost like Halloween-esque kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. The thing is, I was expecting something completely different. And this kind of caught me off guard, which I like, and I was just, you see a lot of people in the comments like, this doesn't really look that interesting. This isn't blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, for me, I'm all for something new and original, something different. That's something that like, hits you like off guard. Like, and this kind of, it was it, I was genuinely interested.
Did you, before you saw the trailer, did you ever hear or read anything on the news about what the show might be like? Like you knew nothing about the show until you watched the trailer?
Right. I try nowadays to kind of not read into much of like, oh, what's the show about? What's this? Like I like to go into like anything like movies, shows, just fresh. Like without knowing anything, without being influenced by anything, just completely fresh. That way I don't have any anticipations. I don't like set like these standards. I just want to go to completely fresh.
You just knew that the show was happening because of that announcement, right?
Yeah, I mean, I keep myself in the loop. I look at posters, I see what's going on, but as in terms of like delving more into like, oh, what's the story about? What's this? I try to keep myself kind of tamed about it.
All right, okay.
It keeps I don't know. It keeps me just more. I guess I would say it's just I don't want to just like what, every time like a trailer comes out or something you just gotta like kind of you just go, oh, I want more, and you kind of like you want to look more into it. And I feel like just I can sit back and just just wait until everything comes out. I'm already sold. I'm already sold on the idea. I don't need to learn anything else.
Yeah, that reminds me of what I did to myself with Endgame. I was so excited about the film that I basically spoiled myself on some really on a lot of information that would have been cool to find out.
What was it?
Dude, I had heard about Cap picking up Mjolnir.
Okay.
And so I thought, oh, that would be cool. And as soon as it happened, or when I saw Mjolnir start to float and levitate at that last fight when Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America are going against Thanos, I kind of knew what was going to happen. Okay. I was so awesome. It was so a great moment that I was like completely went crazy for. But I thought if I hadn't known that, I would have been jumping up and down out of my seat. So I'm kind of mad that I spoiled that for myself. So I totally understand that sentiment, man, like of not wanting to know. And you're right, being genuinely surprised sometimes is the best thing. For WandaVision, it was a little different. I didn't learn that much because now I kind of just dig into it, like, okay, who's the director, what style they're going for, just what is this, where is the, not necessarily, I don't really want to know what the details of the story is, but I just want to know what direction they're going to go with it, because I can usually tell by what direction a director chooses to go, or an executive producer or producer chooses to go, if I'm going to be interested or not. Because nowadays there's so many things that I want to watch, like shows, anime, movies, that it's really hard and I have to pick and choose.
Yeah, you have to be more selective.
Yeah, I have to be more selective, man. So I just do a little bit of research to know if I think I'm going to like it. If it sounds cool, and if not, then I'll let it be. So I knew that it was gonna have this aesthetic. I knew that it was gonna do something different and wacky, and it was gonna be in black and white, um, and that they were gonna kind of take the show through the eras, the different time eras. So I knew about all of that, but it just because it's something can sound good on paper, but the way it's executed can always be good or terrible. You know, can always it can be great one episode and then terrible the next episode. So I just wanted to do a little bit of research. But so far, everything that I've seen in this show, man, I am a big fan of. And when we start talking about predictions and our favorite moments of the show, of the episodes, then I'll get into that for sure.
Okay, well, yeah, let's dive right into it. So, all right, the first two episodes, you know, back to back.
So, spoiler, right, for the audience, for the audio listeners. Are we getting into full spoilers?
I think let's just summarize first. How do we enjoy these two episodes? You know,
let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's start with you. How'd you? Okay, you said you just rewatched them right now, so
yes. So I've watched them a total of 3 times. Each episode 1, which has now been named, I think, filmed before a live studio audience. Disney went in there and I think renamed them a couple days ago. So now on Disney Plus, they actually have a title. The first episode, no spoilers, is really fun. I think it's genuinely intriguing. It gets you. It gets you started on asking questions, which I think is the important part. They want you to be interested, right? So it gets you asking on questions, but the the acting between Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany is really incredible. They have great chemistry, and they bring this 1950s style I Love Lucy esque aesthetic to the characters and the show. Like, they bring it to life and they have fun with it, and some of the lines that they drop, you know, are very important. I knew it as soon as I heard it. I was like, oh man, like, I know what that means, you know. So,
dude, how great is Paul Bettany, man? That guy is such
he's a great actor, man. Every role that he does, I've enjoyed. I don't think I've ever seen Paul Bettany on screen and didn't like what he did. Man. Oh. He's great, man. Like, he's genuinely a charismatic person who just you just want to be a part of his adventure, you know. So I love Paul Bettany for sure. So yeah, it was really great. How did you feel about this episode, man?
Well, I definitely think it wants to. This show, I think it's the intent is they don't want to reveal too much. Obviously, they want to just kind of like they said they established, you know, this whole 50s sitcom, you know, black and white, and they really do it to a T. Like, I gotta give them kudos. Like, they really nailed that vibe. They, like, from the theme songs to the way the aspect ratio of, you know, the actual TV
and the mono sound, dude. Like, at the beginning, so they had a mono sound, and it was. I think a lot of people won't catch that if you're like into, you know, that kind of like sound design or, you know, production of any kind. You'll catch that, and it's a really cool detail that they added in there.
Yeah, right from like the writing, you know, like especially when you like, yeah, like I can actually see this actually being said, you know, during that time. But what's interesting is this, they still find a way to keep you engaged, because after a while, you know, all those dry jokes, you know, for their time it was funny, but you know, but you know, hearing them now in modern times, it can get a little corny. So they find ways to sprinkle in kind of like the actual humor they want to actually, like, you know, give to the audience. I think like the neighbor, she's very good at doing that. Like, she has a lot of like she adds a little bit of that dark humor, you know, to the show.
Yes, she definitely has a nefarious kind of vibe to her, but the actress, she is just Catherine Hahn. She is she's good, man. She's funny. Ever since I saw her in Step Brothers, I love her, and I thought she was kind of hot, and I was like, wow, like, in a weird way, she's kind of attractive, and but she's hilarious too, man. She is so funny. So usually the nosy neighbor is the character that you kind of just loathe and you hate and like, oh, you're so annoying. But she's annoying like in a way that you actually like enjoy her being around just because of how great she is. How great her performance is.
Right, and but it's interesting how they have the sitcom, the sitcom feel, but there's still like these inner workings of like something's not right here. Something is going like they tease it. They tease, like, hey, something not right here, and then they kind of like they kind of diffuse it with something like with like the whole like with the 50s gags, and it just it just kind of keeps you like, what's going on here? It gives you this very. It's funny how it kind of fluctuates between happy and and an easygoing vibe to like a very like uneasy and kind of like I don't know, like very suspenseful feeling at times.
Very dark, man. It's like it has a creepiness to it, like the because
Unhinged,
like
yeah.
unhinged, right? Like something like there's something off here, and it just if you have followed the story so far, which if you haven't, then that's on you. Then you're either in or you're not, right? So if you understand, like because you followed her story since Age of Ultron, or actually if you want to be more technical, I think Captain and the Winter Soldier there is an cutscene that shows Baron von Strucker,
yeah, Quicksilver
right?
and
Creating them, creating Wanda and Quicksilver, and the the what I was trying to say is that that creepiness seeps through the show, and the director does an incredible job of blending the two, a humorous vibe that just everything's fine, 1950s sitcom, ha ha ha, like we like I love you, you love me, but then like it turns into like when she kind of stretches beyond the limits of what she knows and the story doesn't begin to add up, like that's where the vibe of the show turns into like a dark-esque, like just terror, like horror vibe, there's something else going on here.
It kind of reminds me of I'm sure you're familiar with like the Justice League, animation, right? The one that was there was this one arc where
like the movies.
No, the cartoons with
okay, yeah,
Justice League Unlimited.
Yes.
It reminds me of this one arc where they travel to another universe into like I guess like a comic book version of the. It was a comic book, but they actually entered the real world of it, and and it had that 1950s, old American way kind of feel to it. But in what they soon come to realize is like there's something underneath that's going wrong, and eventually they do find out. But yeah, it's interesting because it's just it knows when to balance. Okay, it's we're in the sitcom, we're still in the sitcom, and then okay, something creepy happens, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I gotta really pay attention to what's going on. I gotta pay attention to everyone at this point.
Yeah, and even sometimes it just happens in the dialogue. Like maybe it's not even like a moment that was set up like at the very end of the episode, but just the first dialogue that is spoken in the show, where Wanda is it opens with Wanda cleaning the kitchen and using her magic to make things flow and make things move, and then Vision walks in through the door and a plate hits his head and the plate breaks, and Vision looks at Wanda and says, "My wife and her flying saucers," and then Wanda says, my husband and his indestructible head, which if you think about that, that's that's dark, man. That's some dark stuff, because in this world you understand that the last time that happened, like his head isn't indestructible. Thanos like ripped the Mind Stone from his forehead, and it was man, when I saw it the first time, I felt like my heart sink, man, because I love the Vision. He's really cool, and he just got taken out twice. You know, he got blown up by Wanda and then got brought back to life by Thanos because he reversed time to get the Mind Stone, and then got his head shattered. You know, just like if it was a rock in a sand or sand castle or something. So yeah, that line in of itself is, you know, it shows like how the reality that we're seeing Wanda live in is dark and distorted.
You know what's funny too? Like, I feel like is it me or do you feel like they're really emphasizing the misogyny from that time period to like, like
in what way?
I remember there was like an advertisement for the toaster, and he's like, "Oh, are you tired of your husband? Are you ever overcooking your husband's toast? Well, try this, you know." And the little you know, like with the whole Stark, you know, in the background.
Yeah, and then I think you're right. I think Marvel and the creators of this show are being very clear in the way that they're saying these things. That's how they were back then. So we're gonna actually replicate everything the way it was back then, and this is how people talked, believed, and lived their lives, you know. And like, are you tired of your wife burning your toast? And then Wanda is a housewife, you know, and they're talking about her. What is a gal like her doing in a single gal like her doing in a house like this? Like, it's always about whether someone's married or single. So yeah, the misogyny and the way that was the norm in the 1950s, and how women were tied and chained to a specific role, you know, that's very palpable in the show as well. You can definitely see that they really tried to bring that to life, you know, how the American culture was back then.
Definitely. And like regarding that, the second episode now, like after you know, you've seen the ending of the first episode, how'd you feel going back into the second one? Like, like there's something afoot here now, and or what?
Oh, you mean like the end of the first episode and going into the second episode?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you find out that there's someone watching as if it was TV, and we see the sword logo, right? The camera pans out and we see someone taking notes, watching this as if it was an actual TV show, and you see the sword logo, and sword is like the space version of shield. So what are they doing? You know, why are they? So this is a TV show. So it looks like a TV show. And so what's going on? You know, you start asking all these questions, and then in the second episode, you see that, and we get the funny scene where there's something going on outside, and then I think it perfectly relates, right? Because the 1950s, they got married, everything was awesome, and it kind of had like the first episode a 1950s vibe of two happy people who are now married and are living the rest of their lives together. So now we're in the 1960s, and the first thing is that there's something scary happening. Something's happened to the neighborhood. It's almost as if her consciousness is going through these different states, and each state represents a different time period, right? So now even Vision says, "Oh, I've heard at work that there's like some sketchy people moving in, you know, into the neighborhood." And so Wanda is starting to realize that there's something to fear around here. There's something going on, you know. And so going into it and seeing that, it was interesting, because now I felt like I was going to get more in this episode, which we definitely do get more in episode 2 for sure.
And I mean, how do you feel watching it though? Like, do you feel like at times like when you're watching this, do you feel like, I'm surprised, like they were like, this is what they wanted to do, you know, like this is what Disney wanted to make this Like, and why do you think they wanted to do this way?
How did I feel? I wasn't surprised. I wasn't taken aback. Like, I knew that they wanted to do something different um with WandaVision, and I'm happy that they did. Um I knew that that when it came to TV shows, they're gonna have to be different. They couldn't just be action packed Marvel. There's barely any action. This is not like the Marvel movies that we see, right? This is a show, and shows need more of a through line. Um, and although like shows like The Mandalorian, which Disney also produces, does have like action sequences episode to episode. Um, this one was more about a romance, like a psychology, and a way to use Wanda as an introduction into Doctor Strange, because we know, and Kevin Feige said that this was going to lead into Doctor Strange and and Spider-Man. So it has to be different, right? So I feel like I'm watching like the sitcom feel does make me feel like I'm watching a sitcom. So when I'm watching a sitcom, I feel happy, because I know there's going to be some comedy. I feel excited. I know it's kind of like I know it's going to be episodic, at the same time. But I feel relieved also, because I finally got some more Marvel content, and I feel great that it's these two actors that I wanted to know more of, Wanda and Vision. Like they're at their most important point, they were separated, right? In Infinity War, their relationship was at the forefront of a movie, but it wasn't until they got separated. So it almost like, oh, it's over. We don't really get to celebrate it. So their relationship before then in the other movies was always in the background. Now it's on the forefront. So I'm excited every time I get to see how they work together, and it's what I imagined it, because they are, Vision is very understanding. He understands everything logically, and he's a supercomputer. And Wanda and him in the comics have had a beautiful relationship. So it was great just to see that come to life with two amazing actors.
Definitely, and I think also that for the most part, Wanda hasn't really been utilized too much. I think Civil War, and what was that? I think Civil War probably did like a really good job, and like, well, I think Civil War finally like introduced how strong Wanda is. Like the capabilities of her powers when Hawkeye said, well, Vision was talking to Hawkeye. He's like, oh, I can't beat you, but she can. And I really want to see if they're gonna flesh out her powers, or her as a character, because she is really a really strong mutant.
Yes.
For the most part. I mean, that's what the whole House of M was. How she altered reality. And I mean, I'm hoping that I think we're finally starting to see how powerful she really is.
Yes. We're definitely starting to see that. We're starting to see that she, at some level, has control over this reality, right? Like Wanda is, there's a theory that Wanda is doing all of it, and that she's kind of taking it out on those who ask too many questions, or that don't like her, or kind of threaten this perfect family that she wants to build. But I think on some level, she's being controlled. She's being influenced, and she doesn't know. In the House of M, she has everything. She has a loving family, and it's taken away from her. If you haven't seen that comic book, I'm not going to spoil, how it happens, so you can, get into it for sure. It's a great comic book. Read it, House of M. But it's taken from her, and she breaks, and she creates she ends up creating a whole different reality, and it changes everything. And here, I think it's a perfect way not only to unite like the different universes that Disney has at its grasp. It has the Sony universe, it has the MCU, and it has the Fox universe now. I think we're gonna see some Fox characters come in. I think we're gonna see a version of Quicksilver. I think we're gonna see maybe something about mutants. Because Wanda is she's part of that world. She's part of the X-Men. Okay, she is an Avenger. In the MCU, she is an Avenger. It's clear cut that they're gonna come in through her, right? And the best way to do it is through her universe, her multiverse, like affecting powers. Like, she is a conduit. Use her, right? So Disney would be dumb not to use Wanda as that access point for the X-Men to come in. How they're gonna do it, what characters are gonna bring, who the hell knows? If I know Kevin Feige wants to do everything that has not been done yet. Okay, so if you want to see Wolverine, tough shit. You are not going to see Wolverine for a long time. He was the front face of the X-Men for a long time, right? So he's not going to use Wolverine. He's not going to use Cyclops. He might use one or two, right, of the main crew. Ooh. And it's probably the ones that we haven't been focused on. You want to know who I think?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Who do you think?
So I think it might be Storm, to bring Storm in to also, because Storm has a lot to do with Black Panther. You'd be hitting more stones there too, right? So I think Storm is one that we're gonna see. I think Hank McCoy is gonna be one, because Hank and Professor X, like they're part of that core group, and the Beast was part of the original X-Men, right? You always had Beast on there.
Right.
So, and I think Quicksilver. So with those three, because Quicksilver it's obvious. I mean, come on, he's the twin, I know in the Fox universe, they weren't, I know he didn't have a sister. I don't know. I don't think they ever showed her with a sister or anything like that. But it would be a great way, like, oh, you're my brother from a different universe. So how are they gonna do it? So yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned X-Men, because when I was watching this, I was like, dude, like this is kind of reminds me of I'm not sure you're familiar with the Mojo.
I have not
character
seen it.
who was called Mojo, and his whole thing was the reality he lives in is called Mojo's world, and and essentially what this guy is, he literally has their whole world's basically like television. Like, it revolves around entertainment and television. And he's always putting like the X-Men in these like really like television-esque kind of adventures or like situations. And he's just watching for his own amusement. And I just thought it was interesting. I was like, dude, this is like reminds me of like Mojo's world, or like.
I never heard of that one. That's exciting.
Yeah, and there was So now that you watched 2 episodes, and I guess we can finally get into spoiler territory.
All right, spoilers, guys. So if you don't want to be spoiled, hop out this episode, go subscribe to Disney Plus, watch those first 2 episodes of WandaVision, and come right back here to listen to the rest of this podcast.
But it's definitely worth watching, though, for sure. So, all right, now that like we got that out of the way, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it's fucking insane. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening.
Here we go. All right, like we're talking spoilers. ET's losing his mind, guys. So he doesn't know what's going on. He couldn't hold that 1 second longer. So now we're here. All right. So what's the first question you got, ET?
I want to know who. I'm assuming we're in someone's mind. I'm thinking it's Wanda's, right? Because Vision is not alive, as far as we know.
So, I think this is a real place. I think that we're actually in a real place, in a real world, like in the Marvel, like like Marvel 616. I think like we are on Earth. I think this is a real town. But I think what's happening is that Wanda is just like she created. I think that this like this town or whatever or this neighborhood, however long this stretches out, is being encompassed in like this reality bending like matter. You know that whatever it's in, like it that a field of what do you call that, like an area of what do you call that, AOD, like area
of what?
Jesus, I am blanking out. So anyway, that immediate town is being affected by Wanda's powers. I think that she is in control of that realm through her powers, and so Sword is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But I think Wanda is causing this herself, like at some level.
I think the cast is they are like they're on the outside world and they're trying to communicate, or someone's trying to communicate. Like, oh my god, like, because there's moments like let's talk about the first time something kind of goes like, whoa, something's really creepy here, is when they had the dinner, right? Where they had the dinner and the guy's just insisting like, why are you here? Why are you here? And then she's like, stop it. Like, that's I can't help to think that like a part of me feels like some of these people, like some of the cast members, are actual real people on the outside world, and they're trying to find what's going on. So they're projecting themselves in there to see what's going on, and then Wanda's just kind of just like you said, like she doesn't like when people get too like people ask too many questions. She kind of just things kind of go awry, or when she's feeling challenged in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think when anyone is getting close to breaking the fourth wall, and by that I mean like breaking this reality that she has created to live a happy life with Vision. However the hell Vision is back alive. If this is even a real Vision, or if this is like a fragment of her imagination, or if she created him, or if that's Vision's body and Sword put something in him. I don't know. There's so many questions. It's possible that Sword is also very compliant in this, right? Like it's possible that they're also influencing this somehow by because you got to ask yourself, what happened to Vision's body? You know, he didn't dust away. He was there. So is it possible that somehow they reanimated him, or Wanda got a hold of him and reanimated him? You know, it's how is he back? And why, if Vision was a fragment of Wanda's imagination, why would we be following him on his adventures too? Because he's separate from Wanda when he goes to work or when he goes to the library on the second episode, and he's having his own conversations. You know, Wanda's not telling him what to say. So is he really alive? So in that scene where Mrs. Hart is telling Wanda, stop it, and it goes from like a playful stop it, like stop it, you're embarrassing me, to stop it. You know, she is looking at Wanda kind of like if she knows Wanda can stop it. And exactly. But Wanda doesn't want to reveal the fact that she has powers to these people who shouldn't know they have powers, because they just want to blend in. So then
what if they do know that she has powers though? Like you said, like
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think at a certain level, Wanda is making these people be part of her fantasy. But but at some level, like, so the whole question is why, right? Why is it happening? I think she's being influenced by another entity, you know, and I've done my own research, and I've seen, you know, who Agnes, her nosy neighbor, might be, and who that might be tied to, you know. So I have my own theories, and we can get into that whenever you're ready. But that dinner scene showed that, and when she says Vision, Vision, help him, she gave him a clear command, and to me, I took that like another indication of
that
why
he's not real. That he's not real. Then
that he may not be real because she's controlling everything and saying like help him now, and so soon after that, like Vision takes out the sorry, I was impersonating Mr. Hart, like being relieved, but Vision takes out the food he was choking on, and everything goes back to 1950 sitcom with a laugh track, without missing a beat. Not even 10 seconds go by and they're already back to our regularly scheduled program, right? And they just leave. And in the second episode, you don't see Mr. Hart, but you do see Mrs. Hart. So what's going on there?
Yeah.
Why did
she obviously seemed aware? She seemed aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, because when the first episode ends, it could like you said, like it cuts back to like someone's watching it, someone's observing this.
Right.
It could be Sword, but I don't know what the purpose of this. I mean, was she trying to find a way to like bring Vision back, and then something went haywire, and she just went into a coma, and her powers just went haywire and just started altering reality, or maybe this is the only way they can observe her. I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's the interesting question, man, and that's why I'm excited to watch this show. That's why it piqued my interest, and it's something that, hey, like if you can pique my interest with a universe that I've been into for 10 years, kudos to you, man, because you are still, it's a testament to how hard they work and how great these characters and these storylines are. But one thing that I wanted to get into is Monica Rambeau, who plays, I think, Gladys. I don't know if it's Gladys or, but she comes out in episode 2, and I think she's gonna have a more prevalent role because she is in the comic books. She takes up the mantle of she becomes another Captain Marvel. I don't know what, or no, there's another name for her that I can't remember right now, but she basically has powers, I think, similar to Captain Marvel's, and she is in shots of the trailer. You see her with a jacket with the Sword logo on it, so she's with Sword, so she's in there, right? And she's trying. I'm guessing she infiltrated it, but she's also getting caught in the reality because this is what happens when you try to infiltrate, right? It kind of messes with your mind, and this reality has an effect on you. It reminds me of the movie of Annihilation.
With Natalie Portman?
Yeah, with Natalie Portman, man. Great movie, amazing sci-fi horror film. One of the best endings. It really sears into your mind. But anyway, it reminds me of Annihilation. That kind of, when you step into this reality, it starts to warp you, starts to change you. It starts to mutate you. So I feel like she's in there, tries to infiltrate, tries to figure out what's going on with Wanda because she's a hero and is trying to help. And so, but she gets caught in it. So, I think she's gonna have a bigger role than people are giving her credit for, and I am excited for what the next episode is going to come out in 4 hours at midnight.
Oh, tonight.
Yeah, man, tonight, and I'm excited because I heard this next episode is a good one. I've heard seen a couple non-spoiler reviews, and I like to hear where things are going. So people are saying that this next episode reveals a lot, which is awesome. And I'm excited for it, man. I'm ready for more Marvel content.
Yeah, I think it's very it's kind of a challenge when a show can kind of pique your interest at the same time not giving you anything.
Yes. It's a skill, man. Those are the hands of a master craftsman, okay? That is Marvel has proven time, and yes, call me a shill. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. Marvel, Disney shill. I don't give a shit. Like, this is good stuff, good content, and it's great. It's great that after all these years, we've seen these characters embody like so many, like carry on so many adventures and gone through so much that it's to be able to still be excited and still, put a smile on my face after all these years is an incredible feat.
So now it seems like they're starting like at a, like you said, they're starting at the sitcom, and then it seems like they got color now, right? So I'm thinking that it's good. Like you said, it's gonna go to different eras. It's gonna keep
Yes.
It's gonna keep upgrading its media format to probably modern day. But I mean, I wanted to ask, what do you think's triggering it? Do you think that something specific's triggering that, or is just no? It just happens.
Triggering the color coming into
Just the upgrade in their show. How it went from black to white. Now it miraculously at the end just started having color.
yeah. And she's pregnant, right?
And she's pregnant. Yeah.
She's pregnant, so that's gonna be big, man. Like, she's gonna have this family, right? Like, she, in her mind, in her world, God, who knows how her mind is interpreting all of this, right? Uh, Maybe she's living a whole entire life in her mind, right? And she's going through this because she asks Vision, she looks at Vision and asks, like, is this really happening? Like, is this really happening? Because this is everything that she's wanted. I think it's clear that this is about her psychology, right? That we're diving deep into the psychology of Wanda, and that's what House of M is really all about. Like the mind, right? Like her mind, how her mind, it shatters, and when you think about like embodying that into live action, and you see it being as like, think about where she's from. She's Sokovian. She's from a poor nation, right? She saw Iron Man as like this billion-dollar tech terrorist who she hated. She and her brother hated because her parents like were killed by a Stark bomb, and they were almost killed by one too. But it didn't blow up. So that's like, and she grew up watching American TV. So this is what she knows. This is how she's dealing with. I believe this is how she's dealing with her grief, for the loss of Vision. And I really think we're gonna get deeper into this, and I think people aren't prepared for how deep it's gonna go, because the way it's being color, like now we're going. It looks like we're going into a '70s era. It's being colorful. I think that was the first time that we started seeing color on TV, right? So it's cool how Marvel has
late 60s, I think, late 60s.
I think, yeah, late '60s into the early '70s. So we start to see that more '70s vibe and that fashion come in, and the color is that first indication of it, right?
The one shot that intrigued me is when I think they were riding bikes, and it seemed like we were watching a movie. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you remember that trailer. There was like, I think Vision had like long hair, and they were just together. Like,
yeah,
it seemed like it seemed like it was a movie, like an Oscar movie or something.
Yeah, and I think even the way they composition like the shots when they become more cinematic, more like more just when the shots become, what's the word I'm looking for? More like, I think there's different shots that you use for when you're just shooting a sitcom, right? And then more action level, well,
yeah,
cinematic shots.
Yeah, because like sitcoms didn't really have these different, like these really complex angles. It was very like widescreen. You see everything in front of you. That's what's going on, as opposed to like very specific angles. As cinema continued on.
Yeah, so they whenever something important happening, these more epic shots, the camera is shot more like epically, more cinematically, and so I really do think, man, like that this is all about like Wanda dealing with the grief of losing Vision, and it, it's gonna build up to this point where she has everything, and it's gonna be taken away by the villain, who I believe is gonna tie in
Doctor
into
Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah, and the main guy who I think is gonna make that happen is Mephisto.
Mephisto.
Yeah, man. Which Mephisto, like, if you don't know much about Mephisto, like, I remember watching the Ghost Rider movie with Nicolas Cage, and even though it's kind of like a weird movie, it has its cool moments, right? The
Right.
flaming skull effect, that actually it looks good, right? It doesn't look that terrible, and Nicolas Cage is always a win. But Mephisto was always kind of like, he was kind of scary in that movie. He did have like a really scary presence to him. So I think this is why we're seeing like this horror vibe seep in, and like kind of like I get an image of like these two demonic hands like holding this projection in front of you, showing you something beautiful. And I think that's when the horror vibes start to creep in, kind of like at the end of episode 2, where the beekeeper comes out of the sewer, right? Which I think it was. I have no idea what that is. Some
Right.
people.
I was gonna ask you, like, what do you think that was? Like,
I think some people say that the bees. Well, the guy has a sword thing on his back, right? And she says no. Hits rewind, goes back to where she wants to be, having kids. Not going outside, not let that ruin her happiness, right? Um, I think that it's a symbol. Some people have said it's a symbol for AIM, and AIM has to do with MODOK, right?
right.
So some people have said that. I don't know much about that at all. So I'm really taking like a nonchalant approach. I'm not really caring too much. Like I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out eventually. For now, I have so many other cool things that I could focus on. But the fact that she was able to hit rewind and kind of go back to this place where she wanted to be, that was the even more interesting part, because you're like, oh shit, like
So,
she's rewriting shit, man. That's an important thing, I think.
so maybe she's kind of like in a coma, and they're trying to break through to her, but her psyche has so much of a defense that they just can't break through.
It's possible, man. Yeah, because we have absolutely no idea what they're gonna take this. It's possible because there have been shots in the trailer where you see Wanda kind of like in a similar location, in a cell as she was when she was being like experimented on by Strucker. Um, she has like I think she has it looks like a garb, a patient's garb, that someone who's being held at a mental hospital wears. Um, and it's really quick shots in the trailer, so it's possible that that's more towards the middle, and we see her like actually wake up from a coma, like you said, and this is all going on in her mind. But maybe Mephisto is influencing her mind, or maybe there's just so many possibilities right now. And it's so fun to speculate. Uh, but yeah, at the end of episode 2, and when she hits rewind and the color starts to come in, you're right. There are some shots in the trailer that does look like it's like an indie film. That'd be cool if we saw the next episode and it kind of looked like an indie film. That'd be really awesome.
I think that's what intrigued me the most. I was like, oh, like okay, cool sitcom, but then like, oh, what's this? Like this looks like it almost seems like it's a love letter to TV media, to media itself. Like the film.
Yeah, that's a really great point, and I think that's true. I think by what we've seen so far, and come on, again, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. You couldn't pick two better actors to do this. They're having so much fun with it, and they're nailing those roles of they're just making it seem like so easy. Like you could watch this and genuinely think that this came out in that time. If I showed this to Luna when she's older and she understands things a little more, she'll probably be fooled and think that this was made like back then. They did an excellent job.
Yeah, they have. I just don't want to expect. It's only 2 episodes, and the thing is, this 2 episodes doesn't. It barely gives you anything to go off. So it's just, I'm still kind of just trying to puzzle things together, but I think it did its job. They don't want to keep. They don't want to give you anything.
Yeah. No. Kudos to Marvel and the whole team, man. They're doing a fine job. I am excited to see the next episode.
So to end it off, what do you think is gonna happen in the next episode?
Everyone dies. The universe explodes. Okay, that's what I think is gonna happen. No, I'm just kidding. I think that we're gonna see the kids right at the beginning, either in her pregnancy, like her. I think she is still pregnant. I think she's gonna be pregnant. I think she has the kids in the 80s. I think is when I saw like those 2 cribs. I think like the Roseanne is gonna be the 80s, right? And I think that was like the Roseanne like Full House feels what they're gonna go for in the 80s episode. But for the 70s, I think she's gonna be pregnant. So I think that in this next episode, we're gonna start to see like the walls crack, and the audience, us watching the whole thing unfold, the whole story unfold. We're gonna start to see like what's really going on, because you can only drag people so far, with mystery. You can only do that like 2 episodes is the most, But even in episode 2, they started to do more things. Like we didn't even talk about I think her name is Dottie, and when she breaks the glass with her hand and her hand is cut, and also the helicopter that was found, that was the helicopter that had the Shield logo on it, that was red and yellow, and wasn't fitting in the world, right? So we didn't even talk about those other things, but I think that we're just gonna see we're gonna start to see the outside world, like the area that isn't being influenced, that's outside of this bubble that Wanda has created, and see more of Monica Rambeau and see what her role in all of this really is.
Okay, I think I'm with you. I think we're finally gonna start, some of the cracks are gonna start showing. Gonna start seeing a little bit more of what's going on. Who are the actual characters? I honestly think it's the Mrs. Hart. I think she has a really strong role in that. I think she,
all right.
That 70 Shows alumni.
Hey, love that show.
They couldn't have picked a better actress for that.
I know, right? No, she was perfect, man. Perfect.
And I think as more, like, I guess as the relationship progresses, things are gonna happen, and I just can't wait to see what's gonna go on.
Same here, man, and I can't wait to talk about it too.
Ooh, man. Well, I think that's gonna cut it for our WandaVision impressions. I honestly thought it was gonna be a shorter episode, but we managed to somehow just extend it as much as we could. But thank you guys for watching or listening, and we're definitely gonna keep this. We're definitely gonna keep talking about this show. I think it's very interesting. I think it's something different, and I think that's what we need. We always need something different.
Yes, and we'll keep coming in, with new exciting shows that get us interested. That me and ET, I want to thank ET for being a wonderful host. We're gonna be here to talk about it. We're gonna have more episodes for you guys, and we're gonna keep trying hard because we really love this podcasting, and we really hope that you guys are enjoying yourselves as well.
Definitely. Until next time, stay groovy, my friend.
See you guys.